everybody. This is Josh Shanley, your host today. I'm not the presenter today. I have a special guest that is going to show you how to get REO listings and why it should be on your radar, why you need to be paying attention to this as an opportunity the remainder of this year and next year and beyond, and give you some real data on that. And one of the reasons why I love our guest so much, Frank is someone I've known for a very long time, is because what he'll be sharing is from his experience. It's not theory. He has listed hundreds upon hundreds of REOs and taught hundreds upon hundreds of other agents and brokers how to do the same over many years now. So really good stuff here, no doubt about it. But before we get started, some housekeeping items. First and foremost, can you let me know in the Q&A box, please confirm that you can hear me, that you can see the screen, how to get REO listings. And also, we'd love to know where you are tuning in from, where you are listening from. It's always exciting to see what parts of the country. Gabriel, thank you for that. Kathy, hello. Good to see you. I know there's a little delay here. Nina can see and hear the screen. Destin, Florida. Shannon, welcome. Kenneth here, and Gabriel from Chico, California. Right on. Thank you for that. Ramona, Leesburg, Virginia. Melanie, South Jersey. Kimberly from Tampa. Fairhope, Alabama. Not heard of that, Dave. Las Vegas, Virginia. PA, Aziz in PA myself. And Cheryl, Maryland. All right, good. So we're good there. Couple of other things real quick. This, Frank's going to be, it's going to take about an hour, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. What I would highly recommend is that you remove all distractions, close down other browsers, close off social media, put your phone on vibrate. The world is not going to end, hopefully, and if it does, we all have bigger problems in the next hour plus. And what I can tell you from personal experience, attending many workshops like this one over the years, is you will get out of it what you put into it. And so if you're distracted and you're multitasking, you probably won't get much out of it. But if you give us, and particularly Frank, your undivided attention for the next hour to 75 minutes, I can virtually guarantee there will be something. You will get some sort of nugget, idea, thought, statistic that if and when you apply it could change your business. I know, because I've been there before. I've had that happen, and I'm confident it can happen for you as well. You're going to want to have a pen and paper handy. You may even take screenshots of certain things that Frank will share. And then, as I already mentioned, we will stay on at the end to answer as many questions as we can. So as you have questions, pop them in the Q&A box, but we will likely save all of those for the end. So without further ado, I already sort of mentioned this, but we've had a lot more people that have jumped on. Our special guest today is my friend, Frank Patrick. And Frank has been training and coaching and helping other real estate agents for, I don't know, 14, 15 plus years now, I think, at least 10 plus years, on getting REO listings. And what makes him qualified to do that is the fact that he has personally, and he'll unpack his story in more detail for you, but he has personally listed hundreds of them. So he knows the ins and outs. He knows how to scale that kind of business. But he's also going to highlight to you why you should be paying attention to this opportunity in your business over the next few months and few years. Now, you probably already are interested, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But we're going to dive deeper into that, and obviously we can only dive so deep in an hour. He'll also provide for you an opportunity to get resources and step-by-step help in building out this as a pillar in your business for those who are interested. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Frank. I'm going to go to moderator role. I might pop on here or there. I'll be monitoring the questions and doing my best to answer those and tee up the ones for our Q&A period. So Frank, excited to have you here. I'm going to also be taking notes as well. Our conversation before we went live is how you had just updated some things, and so I'm excited to see some of the new numbers and figures and some of your thoughts as to where things are headed as well.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Josh. I'm excited to share my insight and give everybody hopefully enough information so they can decide whether they want to pursue listing foreclosed properties in the future, because I personally believe there's going to be some. And obviously, for those of you listening, you're here because you too believe there's going to be some increase in the number of foreclosures. Now, I'm sure we would all have our own opinion on how many there's going to be. I'm going to present to you some statistics that I think will be eye-opening, but you're here because you believe there's going to be an increase in foreclosures in the near future. You see this as an opportunity to prepare for market correction, and I want to help you put yourself in a position to thrive in that environment. I want to help you be prepared. I want to help you diversify your listing sources and basically build a moat around your business so no matter what happens next year, you won't be adversely affected. So let's see if we can get the screens to change here. Oh, there we go. So there's all kinds of sensationalism in the news, right? There's going to be an explosion of foreclosures, a tsunami of, I had to look that one up, I couldn't even spell it. But so you got to be kind of careful where your sources are. And I get most of my data from ATOM, ATOM data, and they're a data aggregator on all things mortgage. I believe they're a subsidy of Realty Track, who's been around a long time, longer than me. And so any of the numbers I share with you are coming from ATOM data. But apparently there's 53 million homeowners with mortgages in the United States. And on a normal year, that would be pre-COVID, 1% of mortgages are foreclosed on. That is an industry standard. Now, you got obviously like 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those were way above average. But an average year, like a good year, like 2018 or 2019, pre-COVID, you'd expect 500,000 mortgages to be foreclosed on. And there's all kinds of reasons. You're like, why don't these people just list their house and sell it? Tons of reasons. Die without a will. Even if you have some equity, it gets tied up in probate for 6 months, maybe a year. And who's making payments? It gets foreclosed on. Divorces, right? They literally tear the house apart, if you will. Illnesses, job transfers. There's a million reasons why houses get foreclosed on. So if that's the baseline, 530,000 a year. Well, when the federal foreclosure moratorium went into effect last year, there were 250,000 foreclosures in process. And the foreclosure process can take as little as 6 months and as long as 18 months, depending on a lot of circumstances, including what state you're in, what county you're in, and a host of other factors. So last year, we didn't have any of those 530,000 foreclosures because there was a moratorium. So it would have happened anyways, even if there was no COVID. There would have been 530,000. There was already 250,000 in the pipeline that just got turned off, put on hold. So that gives you 780,000 that we're reasonably sure would have happened anyways. And now they're all going to be pushed into the system at once, which of course is going to overwhelm the system because the courts have been closed, all these issues. But so we said normal year 1%, but that's considering a normal level of unemployment, which is about 3.5%. So if you have 3.5% unemployment, you have 1% mortgage defaults. That's just a normal year. Right now, we're at 6.8% unemployment. So we have double the unemployment. It stands to reason that we could likely have double the normal number of foreclosures. Therefore, it makes sense we could easily see 1 million plus the 250,000 that were already in process. So if you look at next year, and regardless, I'm going to show you a news story that that was published a while back. It said lenders were expecting 15 million foreclosures. Holy cow. I'm not expecting 15 million foreclosures, if that makes you feel any better. And I don't think anybody with any credibility in the mortgage industry would claim there's going to be 15 million. But according to the numbers that I have at my disposal that you can look up on Adam as well, it looks like we could be in for 1.3 million next year in 2022. And I say next year in 2022 because even though the moratorium is over, the lenders can't even start the foreclosure process on most of these. They can start back up on the 250 that were already in the pipeline, but they can't start back up on all of the others that are in default. And here's the reason. There's a whole, it's kind of complex, but the moratorium ends September 30th on foreclosures. And keep in mind, this moratorium was only on the, and I'll show you the numbers, but it's only on about half, a little over half of the mortgages because they have to be federally backed. So if it wasn't a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, or FHA mortgage, the lenders were free to foreclose. They just chose not to because you couldn't evict anybody. That's worse. It's worse to have, it's better to have somebody in the house that's not paying for it than to have it vacant for 18 months or 2 years. And so they just didn't foreclose on anybody. And now, if the borrower is in forbearance, even though the moratorium on foreclosing on them is over, they have 18 months. So if they started forbearance, let's say last year in September 30th, you can't start the foreclosure process this year, September 30th. You got to wait until March. You have to wait 6 more months. They get 18 months. Even though the moratorium is over, they have the right to 18 months of forbearance. So if you have any friends or family member that are behind on their mortgage or in forbearance, you want to look this up so you can offer them some helpful advice. They actually have 18 months. If they went into forbearance and say they were in forbearance for 6 months and then they got their job back and then they came out of forbearance and they started making their payment again, they have the right to go back in as long as they do it before September 30th of this year. They can go back into forbearance and get the remainder of their months. For borrowers who are not in forbearance, never were in forbearance, they can jump in right now. So they can contact their lender and request forbearance right now and get another 18 months. So even though the foreclosure moratorium is over September 30th, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's kind of convoluting this whole thing, and it's probably a good thing because nobody wants to see 1 million foreclosures come on the market in January. That would overwhelm the system. You know, people would lose confidence in the housing market. It would be terrible. So it's going to take a little while for this to ramp up. So if you're thinking you're going to hop into the REO business and start listing and selling REO properties next month, I want to make it more realistic for you. You can do the work now and put yourself in front of the business so when they open it up and start giving them out, you're there to receive them. So yeah, even though the foreclosure moratorium's over, the eviction moratorium's over, the soonest they can start foreclosing on anyone, realistically, unless it was already in process before, is January 1. Okay, so now that we have that behind us, but it could get worse. And this one really hit me hard when I thought about it. I mean, it really upset me. The Federal Reserve increased the total amount of US currency in circulation by 24% in the last 18 months. So effectively, this reduces the buying power of the dollar that you already have. So if you had $100,000 in your savings account and you were going to go out and buy a new RV for $100,000, well, the new RV is going to cost you 124, right? Because your dollar doesn't buy as much. And we see this. I mean, you see it everywhere. I'll give you a simple example. When we go, my wife and I, we like to camp, but we don't like to cook a lot of things in the RV because we have a real small trailer. And so we don't eat a lot of junk food, but we allow ourselves to have bacon when we're on vacation. So we always go to Costco every year before we go on our little summer trip in the trailer up into the mountains to get some cool weather. We go to Costco and we buy a package of pre-cooked bacon. And last year I complained because it was $10.99. You know, you could cook it yourself and it's like $5, but if you want them to cook it, it's $10.99. All right, so then last fall, I left for a guy's trip in September. It's called a hunting trip, but really we're just camping and drinking beer. And to get the same bacon, it was $12.99. And then this summer, when my wife and I took our little summer trip, we popped into Costco and it was $18.99. So according to the bacon index, it could be possible that my dollar is buying even less than 76 cents in some cases. So the correlation here is how many working people do you know who have 24% of their paycheck left over at the end of the month? Even if they didn't lose their job, I know lots of folks, and unfortunately I sold them houses, who don't have 24% discretionary income. And effectively what has happened is everything in their life has gone up in price. Everything but their salary hasn't gone up, right? So I think you're going to see some hard times. Now, it's hard to see that right now as a real estate agent because things are so good, right? There's so much money in the market right now. Things are so good in real estate. But real estate is what we call a lagging indicator. We'll talk about that in a minute. dsnews.com is the principal provider of news for the default servicing industry, dsnews.com. And this was taken off their website this morning, suggesting that there won't be a significant increase in default activity in 2021 would be silly. It's almost impossible to see a scenario where 40 million Americans lose their jobs and foreclosure rates don't increase, right? And then they go on to say, as we move through 2021, there's a number of other things that could inflate the numbers of defaults. What are those things? Well, obviously coronavirus, 662,000 deaths. That's a lot. We've had wild swings in the stock market. We have high unemployment. The federal unemployment bonus has ended. So now here, I live in Arizona, I think the unemployment now is 262 or 282 a week. Not enough to pay a mortgage, not enough to pay anybody's mortgage. And we have 8 million Americans facing either foreclosure or eviction. 530,000 people are behind on their mortgage and not in the forbearance plan. So I don't understand. It's either an education issue, they don't understand that they can get forbearance, or they think there's no use in getting into the forbearance plan because they don't see their future changing, right? So their husband and wife both worked in the cruise industry. They lost their jobs. Their jobs aren't coming back. And it may be difficult for them because, I mean, what does that transfer over to? 205,000 people were in the forbearance program. And when it ran out, the government gave us an extension, but you had to request it. 205,000 didn't extend, and they're delinquent. They still haven't made a payment. So you have I mean, there's 735,000 people who are in imminent danger of being foreclosed on. But my market's hot. I hear this all the time. Of course it is, right? But real estate's a lagging indicator. You can't look at what's going on with real estate today and determine what's going to happen next year, right? You can't look at the real estate market and predict what's going to happen in the economy in general or in the real estate market. This is the first one, right? I don't know if you saw this. The most expensive home in America defaults and is entered foreclosure. $165 million mortgage, 105,000 square foot house. Which one of you guys is going to list this? Gals, who's going to get this one? That's not my market area. I guess it's in LA, but I guess I'm sheltered. I didn't even know there were houses that had $165 million mortgage on them. You know, somebody's going to get this listing, and I think this is kind of a sign or a foretelling of the future, what's coming. Adam says that there's zombie foreclosures. Had to look that up. We didn't use that terminology when I was listing and selling properties, but apparently there's 223,000 properties. They're in the process of foreclosure in the second quarter. They're not moving anywhere. They're just in process. And 8 vacant properties. Those are zombies. This is from Adam as well. 15,838 foreclosure filings last month. So, is it a tsunami? Is it an explosion? I don't know, but there's going to be a bunch of them. There'll be at least, I mean, just an average year when the economy's good, there's 530,000. What we're experiencing now is the calm before the storm, right? Now is the time to prepare. This is like if you live in Florida and you wait until the hurricane hits the shore and then run up to Home Depot and try to get some plywood and a generator, right? If you wait, it's too late. And if you wait until you see REOs start popping up in your MLS, it's too late. And let me explain why. In the REO world, there's a defined number of REO sellers, and I'll go into more depth on this, but there's roughly 100 in the entire United States. There's only 100 people you can list and sell REO properties for. And most of them are servicers or outsourcers, if you will. And so they might have 15 different banks, mortgage companies sending them their foreclosures. And they don't go out and solicit real estate agents. They have agents on their rolls. So they already have, right now, they already have agents that are approved to list and sell their properties. But they don't have very many agents because they don't have very many foreclosures. So, you know, the past 3 or 4 years, there haven't been many foreclosures leading up to COVID. And then the last 18 months, there hasn't been any. There probably won't be any for 3 or 4 more months. Very few, just a trickle. So they maintain a small number of agents when they have a small number of foreclosures. If they believe foreclosures are going to increase, and they all see this coming, I'll show you proof. They're hiring people now. They've been hiring people for a year, ramping up, okay? HUD has been soliciting new contractors. We'll talk about that. They've been issuing new contracts for new contractors to list and sell or act as asset management company, find the agents, you know, be the middle person. And for preservation contractors, they're hiring people to take care of this because they don't want to get caught, you know, with nobody to take care of all of this work that's coming. And so to get REO listings, you don't go after a property, you go after the company that has the properties and is going to get the properties. So first thing you have to do is understand how the business works. And so if you wait and see a property that's vacant and has a lockbox on it, or you see a contractor over there cleaning it out, mowing the yard, it's too late. As soon as that house is foreclosed on, it's already assigned to an agent. So even though it's not in the MLS, it's already assigned to an agent, and you have no chance. So they typically like to have about, each one of these companies likes to have about 10 different agents that they can choose from. They don't like to give any agent, and this varies by company, but they don't like to give any agent, even a veteran like me that sold over 1,000 REO properties, they don't like to give me more than about 10. And so once I have 10 properties, and these could be assigned to me but not listed because they're still going through the title process, listed but not under contract, listed and under contract, we're just in escrow. So 10's not very many. I mean, that's like three in, the pre-listing stage, 3 listed, and 3 or 4 under contract. And now they get another property, and even if I'm the best agent that they have in the geographic area, they can't give that listing to me because they want to spread the business out, keeps everybody honest, and it gives other people opportunity, and they get better service. Last time around in 2005, there were agents that had, 2006, there were agents that had 100 properties from one company. What kind of service do you think they gave? Yeah, wasn't good. And so they figured it out. So you got to get approved by these companies, and first of all, you got to understand how this works. You got to find who those companies are, and you have to apply with them to become one of their approved vendors. That's the term they use. So once you're an approved vendor, now you're eligible to list properties for them. And you're probably one of 10 in your area. And in the beginning, you get one, and they see how you do. And if you do well, according to their criteria for what well is, which is really different than what a private seller is, then when that one goes under contract, you get another one. You get another one, and over time, if you're good and you do a good job, you communicate well, and you meet their metrics, then they'll increase you, and you might have 10 total properties from one company. Once they have enough agents, they don't bring on any new ones. They don't keep spreading the pie out. As long as they have enough agents to cover the inventory that they have, they're not going to bring on any more. So they're gearing up right now. So now is when you get started applying with all of these companies that are going to be getting the REO listings. And I'm going to go into that a little further in depth. So you're at the right place at the right time if you want to get REO listings next year. If you wait until next year, the positions will all be filled. Every real estate agent in the United States will wake up and see foreclosures popping up on their street and in their MLS, and they will all run out and apply. And now there'll be a huge list of people for them to vet and interview and choose the best one. And then that person will be on the bench until the inventory gets to a point where they need to hire somebody else. So you're in the right place at the right time. Now, the reason that Josh asked me to be here today is we want you to adapt, to be ready, to diversify. We don't want you to be next year trying to figure out how you're going to survive. And 90% of agents, I mean, you know this, what is the turnover in our industry? 87% turnover in like 5 years or something. I think it's almost 100% turnover in 10 years. I mean, it's terrible. 90% of agents will just use this as an excuse to do nothing. They'll just go home, right? But don't let them infect your mind, because there are other options. Even if the housing market crashes, you don't have to crash with it. I'm living proof of that. And I want to show you, I'm not going to have this. My screen's mixed up here. So I'm proof of that. I was licensed back in 2000. Market was great. In March, stock market crashed. That was the .com crash, wiped a bunch of people out, affected almost everyone I know, and it hurt the real estate market. And just as we started to recover, we had the 9/11 terrorist attacks, then we had the war with Afghanistan, we had 4 or 5 good years, and the housing market peaked in 2006, and it went down every year 6 years in a row. Yeah, the price of houses went down a lot. I know a lot of you were not around then. Those of you that were, I mean, it was just ridiculous. Hopefully you bought your house then, right? So, I mean, they were on sale. In Phoenix, you could buy brand new houses for 60 grand. Queen Creek, $60,000, brand new house. Formerly 300,000, whole neighborhoods, brand new houses. It was crazy. 2008, the market completely crashed, stock market crashed. 2008, 2012, the market was terrible. REOs and short sales were all there was. REOs and short sales. Even though the housing market crashed and was terrible from 2006 to 2012, my business exploded. I closed 23 transactions, I remember, like it was yesterday, in April of 2007. Made almost $70,000. And this is, I mean, in Missouri, 14 years ago, 70 grand was, I mean, that was a lot of money for a year. But, and my business slowly, I got to a point where I was like, well, enough is enough. You know, I mean, you got to have time to go home and sleep. And I did just under 240 transactions in 2010. That was my best year. And then I just kind of burnt out. So I started slowing down a little bit. So you can't control the real estate market, but you can adapt your business to serve the coming demand. There definitely is going to be new opportunities. You can adapt and thrive. Once again, I was licensed back in 2000. I sold my first REO late in 2000 because, believe it or not, it was a call-in. Guy from City Mortgage called into our office, and the agent that was on board that day didn't want it, didn't understand what a BPO was, wasn't interested, wasting their time with it. Foreclosure, those are all in bad areas. And so the next person didn't want it, and finally somebody's like, hey, give it to the new guy over there. And so they gave it to me. I had no idea what a BPO was, and I kind of bluffed. I was like, hey, obviously you're probably going to want this on your own form. Could you fax that over to me? They faxed me their form, and then I had to call an appraiser to get some advice, fill the thing out, turn it in. It was wrong. They sent it back to me. I made some changes to it, sent it back to them, and then 4 months later I got the listing, and it was a nice house. And that began my relationship, and that began my interest in REO. And even though new home sales were great and resales were great, there was a probably 2 or 3 or 4 a month I was getting from this one client. And I did business with this client until 2014 when I sold my real estate office and moved from Kansas City to Phoenix. So I don't know how many properties I sold for them. You know, during the good years, which was everybody else's bad years, you know, 6 or 7 a month for one client. One client. You don't need a whole bunch of REO clients. You need 2 or 3. But 2005, we decided, hey, the market, I think, I'm no genius, but everybody could see it. People were getting loans for more than they were buying the house for, with no money down and 2% interest, and they didn't even have a job. So I'm like, you know, this is going to get ugly. And so I decided to focus on REO sales. And we downsized our office. At the time, I owned my own office. I owned my own brokerage. I didn't own the building. And so I got out of my lease and I bought a little tiny office building and focused 100% on REO and averaged over 100 transactions a year. In 2007, every real estate agent that I'd ever co-opt with was calling me, wanting to take me out to lunch to pick my brain. Right? They wanted to know how to get into REO. You know, word got out in my town that all my listings were REOs. It doesn't take long to figure it out. And my wife is like, first of all, you're getting fat. And second of all, you're not telling them anything, right? They were not your friends 3 years ago. And now all of a sudden they are, because you're the one with all the REO listings. And gosh, I really want to help people. I mean, people were struggling. A friend of mine owned 4 RE/MAX offices, bunch of commercial properties, lost everything, moved into an apartment, went to work at Walmart. I mean, it was terrible. And I didn't want to travel around. I couldn't travel around and help people because, you know, and speak and stuff, because I needed to be in my office, you know. So I created an ebook, and agents would buy it and download it and get into the business. And that took off. And between 2007 and 2013, I helped a little over 10,000 agents adapt and get into the REO business. So I learned a lot helping them. So not only have, like Josh said, I've actually listed and sold hundreds of REOs for companies that you'll recognize. Now, some of these companies are no longer in business or changed their name or were bought out, but certainly you recognize Fannie Mae, Bank of America, Citi Mortgage. These were clients of mine. And, you know, I had a home office, nothing special, Patrick Investments, LLC. We didn't even have a sign on our building. I had previously owned a franchise, but as soon as I saw the market turning, I did not renew. It was a national franchise office. I'm not going to say who. And I serviced the eastern suburbs of Kansas City. My average sales price was right around $95,000. And Missouri was not a hotbed of foreclosures. I mean, we were ranked number 23 out of all 50 states. So we were right in the middle. I had students in Las Vegas and in Florida and in California who were selling. I mean, I had one student do 400 or 500 houses a year. Yeah, and he was making a lot more money than me. So, but let's get into the if you should do this or if you shouldn't, and then we'll go deeper into how it works. These are the things that I really enjoy, and I think most agents like this about REO is there's no prospecting, right? You're going to apply with a set number of companies that list and sell properties, REO properties. And if you do the right thing when you apply, you get approved by a small number of them. Very few competitors because most agents don't know how this all works. They're stuck chasing properties, trying to figure out who the owner is. It's inexpensive and simple to get started. Back in the day, I had to pay for mowing the grass, changing the locks. They don't do that anymore. They have contractors that do that now. And you can create a stable, predictable production regardless of market conditions. I mean, it's totally possible. Do a high number of transactions from a small number of clients. My Fannie Mae asset manager used to call me at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, and we would talk about 10 or 15 different transactions that we had going on, and then we were done, right? He didn't call me at night or evenings or weekends. Had very low visibility. My office didn't even have a sign, very low overhead because I wasn't spending a lot of money on advertising and marketing to get more customers, and I wasn't spending money on advertising and marketing to market those properties because people fought over foreclosures. You know, they're a deal. And so although there's, you know, most of my REO sellers wanted some kind of advertising, it wasn't like hiring professional photographers and staging houses, none of that stuff. No drama. Each sale is a business transaction. You need your asset manager selling 200 properties a month. He's not tied to any one of them. It's a business deal. You can use leverage because a lot of the work can be delegated, allowing you to create more business opportunities. And so by that, I mean, I had an office manager, an administrative assistant, a buyer's agent that showed properties for me, and a inspector, unlicensed person on the outside that would run around. You know, somebody'd call and say, your sign fell over, lockbox isn't working, fixed all that stuff for me. So I didn't have to do any of that stuff. They have a financial and legal motivation to sell. It's the best inventory. Everybody wants a bargain. So it doesn't work for everybody. It's not a perfect fit for everyone. If you have a day job, like you have a 9 to 5, you're a teacher, you're a nurse, and you do real estate on the side, that's awesome, but it won't work for REOs. Won't work for REO. You can still do broker price opinions and earn some extra money, but it won't work for listing and selling REO properties because they're going to want to talk to you between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. They don't like talking to your secretary. They don't like voicemail. All my REO clients, cell phone, call straight to me. Yep, that's what they want. They don't really like dealing with teams. It's okay if you have a team, but they're not going to talk to other people on your team. They can talk to you. If you're not good at staying organized, it'll be difficult for you because see private homeowners, private sellers, they look at you as the expert and you tell them what to do, right? You're like, I give a weekly report once a week, it's by email. Oh, okay, no problem. Now, REO seller says, you go to our website on Tuesday at 9 a.m. and you enter this information. So you got to be organized. You're not going to get rich. You're going to have to work at least 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. You're going to use a computer a bunch. So you got to upload pictures, things like that. If you give up easily, probably not a good fit, because this is one of those endeavors where you're going to do the work up front and you're going to have to wait for the results to start trickling in, and it'll eventually build over time, but it doesn't happen right away. So if you have to have instant gratification, this isn't going to work. And if you're not good at meeting deadlines, like when an REO client says, I need you to have the BPO turned in on Monday, they mean Monday. You know, they don't care if you had soccer practice or something. So that gets you fired. There's some common myths that I hear a lot of. A lot of people think you have to know someone to get REO listings. Doesn't help anymore. They're trying to get rid of these personal relationships because they resulted in some fraud and some bribes and some other stuff during the last foreclosure crisis. I hear that it's not profitable to sell REOs. Gosh, my student from San Diego that just closed a right before the moratorium started, he closed a HUD REO, and I was curious, like what does a foreclosure sell for in San Diego? You know, $600,000, 3% commission, $18,000. $18,000. You get 2 or 3 a month up until the moratorium. So I'd say that's pretty profitable, especially with HUD, where you don't turn on the utilities, you don't do a BPO. I mean, you don't even put your own lockbox on it if you don't want to. They put their own lockboxes on. So, you know, that's very profitable. I hear that advertising is the best way to get REO listings. Not at all. They don't care. I hear that banks only give REO listings to agents with REO experience. No, and they would like you to have some BPO experience. We're going to talk about how to get that. But REO experience, each one of them has their own protocol. So that's why you don't want 100 REO clients, each giving you one property a year. You want 5 REO clients, each giving you 20 properties a year, because every one of them has their own website where you have to go and do your monthly report. So it doesn't really, they don't care about the REO experience. They're going to tell you how they want it done, and you're going to do it that way. And so they want agents who are coachable, on time, and compliant. Yeah, they want you. They're going to tell you to do something, you're going to do it. I hear that banks are hard to deal with. Yes, they are. I mean, you know, they have their way of doing things. You can't dictate to them when you're going to turn in your monthly report or how often you're going to give them a showing report. They tell you, you do it their way, or they find somebody that will. I hear that you have to spend a lot of your own money maintaining REO listings, and this was certainly true 20 years ago. A new kind of company sprung up called property preservation contractors. They're nationwide, huge companies, and they have subcontractors in every city, in every state, including Puerto Rico and Guam, that will go out and rekey the property, clean out the trash, mow the grass every 2 weeks, and fix anything that needs to be fixed. And they bill the banks directly. You don't have to deal with it. I hear that REO properties are in bad areas and in bad condition. Sure, there are REO properties. There'll be foreclosures in bad areas. I just showed you a house that's being foreclosed on for $165 million. Not all of them are in bad areas and bad condition. And the way you avoid, if you don't want to work in let's say there's a certain zip code in your service area that's known for a lot of crime. Well, you just don't agree to service that zip code. But as part of when you apply to become an REO listing agent with these companies, you're going to submit the zip codes where you're willing to work. So you'll just go through that zip code list and go, nope, not that one, not willing to go there. And then you don't get assignments there. I hear it takes years to get started listing REOs. Yeah, you know, I guess it depends on you know, a lot of factors. But That's what I'm here for. I'm going to give you an opportunity to have me as a mentor to help you get started faster and save you a bunch of time. And you do not have to do hundreds of free BPOs to get a listing. So this is where you want to take notes. Where to get the REO listings. So who are these sellers? Well, the first one is an obvious one, banks, mortgage lenders. But it's not so easy because these guys sell their mortgages to somebody else. So if you think you're going to go to Bank of America, waltz in there and ask to talk to the vice president, I think everybody's the vice president at a bank, but about selling their foreclosures, they're like, yeah, we don't even know who, we don't, yeah, we make the mortgage. So we originate the mortgage. Then we package it up and we sell it, but we retain the servicing rights. So we collect the payment. It's still made out to Bank of America. We take $2 or $3. We send the rest of it to whatever entity owns it now. When it gets foreclosed on, they handle that. Okay. So it's hard to figure out, and unless you have a small local bank, but most small local banks don't do a lot of mortgages because they don't want to tie their money up for 30 years. So it's possible to get some listings from banks and mortgage lenders. It's not where I'd send somebody new, and it's not going to be a large source of business for you. I would send you to asset management companies. This is the number one likelihood for you to get business. These are third-party outsourcers. See, Bank of America doesn't want to deal with it themselves, right? They don't want the legal liability. They don't want to, the real estate market is cyclical. Every 5 to 10 years, we have one of these down periods where a number of foreclosures goes up. Well, if they go hire a bunch of people, then 2 years when the foreclosures go down, they got to fire those people or lay them off or retrain them to do something else. They don't want to deal with it. They deal with these asset management companies. And these asset management companies, they're just a third party, and then they hire you to list the property. And some of them take a cut of your commission. So they take a referral fee. So just like if I called you and said, hey, how would you like to list a foreclosure property? One of my clients has it. I'm going to send you over their information. All I'm going to need from you is a signed referral agreement. You're going to pay me 25%. Everybody would take me up on that, right? And even better if I said, hey, if you do a good job, they'll probably give you 3 or 4 a month, for the next couple of years. You'd be happy to send me a check because normally most agents spend 25 to 30% of their revenue generating prospects, which they're calling and going to visit on the evenings and weekends to give a presentation in an attempt to get their business. This is you get on the rolls, you get approved. You just check your email in the morning and see how many listings you got. Yes, they take 25% referral fee. Typically, that's what we see. We have secondary purchasers of mortgages, mortgage insurance companies, government entities, quasi entities, I should say. So you can apply to list properties directly for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD. I can show you how to do that. We have Wall Street investment firms buy up large chunks of defaulted mortgages, and then they in turn will hire agents or hire asset management companies to go out and sell those properties. And you have REO transaction management platforms. These are, put it in simple terms, this is a web portal that acts as the asset management company or the bank that has the foreclosure or the mortgage insurance company that has the foreclosure. They don't want to buy their own software system to manage these foreclosures, so they rent it. They just subscribe to this REO transaction management platform. There's 4 big ones. There's one, for example, is res.net. I think it's probably the biggest. And so if you're a bank and you have 1 foreclosure and you're not anticipating a bunch more, maybe 1 or 2 a month, you're a small bank, you don't want to buy your own software system to manage a property. You just go to one of these transaction management platforms like ResNet, sign up, And when you get a property, you just send over the pertinent details and then they take care of it. Like it shows you, it just pulls up all the agents that they have that are available in that market area, shows the proximity, shows their quality score that they have. So how good of an REO agent is this person? How much inventory do they currently have? All of the person's metrics, all their performance metrics, and they can just go boop, click on one. It sends the property to them, sends the property to the property preservation company. This virtual software solution handles all of that. And there's 4 of those. 2 of them are free. One has a federal contract, so you have to pay like $29 to get a criminal background check to join that one. And another one has a fee, I think it's $80 to join, and just to have access to it. If you don't have access to those 4, you've limited yourself, and because about 60% of the REOs go through those 4 REO transaction management platforms. So if you're not signed up with those REO transaction management platforms, your probability of succeeding as an REO listing agent goes down by 60%. So initially, you want to seek out all the asset management companies and all the REO transaction management platforms and apply with them. But before you apply with them, some important stuff to know. You need to register with evaluation companies to complete BPOs and visual inspections first. There's a purpose here. I know nobody wants to do it. You got to fill out a 2 to 4 page report. They're going to pay you anywhere between $30 and $150. Well, that's not worth your time. That's not why you're doing it. For some of you, maybe some of you it is. So maybe things are slow for you, or maybe you're taking care of a sick family member, or whatever purpose is, whatever the reason is that you can't get out there and hustle. Maybe this would be good for you to earn some now income. And I did have one coaching member that had a $60,000 a month BPO business back in 2008 to 2012. So you can make a lot of money if that's your intent. But if you want to list and sell REOs, you need to do some BPOs first for 2 reasons. First is, when you apply with these REO sellers, how are you going to be chosen over someone else in your market area that might also apply? Okay. You're going to show them that you have some industry experience. And while you haven't sold any REOs, you can show them that you have, here's my 3 BPO clients, and you can name them. And now you've demonstrated that you're head and shoulders above someone else that's never done a BPO. Because the number one thing that an REO asset manager looks for in an agent is their ability to complete an accurate and timely broker price opinion. That's a number one skill that is necessary of an REO agent. So 2 things, they're looking for people that have BPO experience. And when you do finally get approved, like I said, there's about 100 REO sellers in the United States. I think my list has about 60 of companies that I've worked for, or my students have worked for. So you got 60 shots to get into the REO business. You only get to apply once. So you don't want to screw that up. You can't go into this thinking, well, I'll apply with 60 of them now, and then I'll learn a little more about it and apply again and hope to get out. You apply once. So you got 1 shot. You want to make yourself look as good as possible. So the fact that you have a couple BPO clients, you don't have to tell them how many BPOs. Maybe you've only done 1 BPO, but you say, I'm approved and currently completing BPOs for the following companies. It increases the chance of you getting approved. Then when you do get approved, so out of these 60 companies, let's say you get approved with 3 companies. Now you're down to 3 chances to get REO listings. And when they give you a chance, when they activate you, you've turned in all your correct documentation. We'll talk about that in a second. You get that first assignment. First thing they ask for is for you to go do a broker price opinion on it. this is not the time to do your first broker price opinion. Because keep in mind, this asset manager is selling 200 properties a month, and they have a BPO done on that property every 90 days, 60 or 90 days while it's in the foreclosure process. And then once it's foreclosed on, they're going to have the listing agent, whoever's getting the assignment, you do a broker price opinion. They'll also send one of their veterans out to do a broker price opinion, and that person gets paid. You don't get paid because you're getting the listing. It's like you consider it your CMA. And they're going to send an appraiser. And they're going to get all three back, and they're going to compare them. And so you need to be, yours needs to be pretty close to theirs. And if it's not, you may get one chance to correct it. Most likely they just push a button and delete you. I mean, seriously, you get a auto-generated email that you've been, the assignment has been reassigned to someone else, and you've been deleted from their network. And that's it. That's the end of your REO career. Now you got two left. So you need to be able to do a BPO. You don't have to do them for these evaluation companies forever. See, these evaluation companies don't have any REOs listings to give you. All they do is provide BPOs to lenders. And the BPO helps the lender decide whether or not to do a short sale or foreclose on it or a loan modification or whatever. If you don't get anything else from this, BPO comes before REO. A BPO is simply an acronym for a broker's price opinion. A broker's price opinion is a valuation report prepared by a real estate broker or an agent working on behalf of the broker, and it's used to estimate the probable selling price of a residential real estate property. It's submitted on a customer's proprietary BPO report, and it's done online. There's two different kinds. One is a drive-by, means you don't have access to the interior. The other is a full BPO, means you're going to walk through the inside. Okay, think of it as a more detailed CMA. It combines the relevant information from an appraisal with the market knowledge of a local licensed real estate agent. And here's why they use them. I mean, the mortgage default industry invented the BPO because appraisals were expensive. Appraisals took more time to receive once you ordered it, and the appraisals cost more. So saved them money, saved them time, and they're ordering thousands of them at a time. Every one of these, and I think the numbers are around 3.4 million properties in forbearance, is getting a BPO done on it every 60 to 90 days. People don't even know it. An agent is driving by, snapping 3 pictures, going back to his office, pulling up the tax records, pulling up MLS, filling out a 2-page form, getting paid between $30 and $50 some dollars. Yep, thousands of them being done. So they start doing these BPOs after a mortgage is 60 days delinquent, and they do them all the way until the property sells. So while you're listing the property, most lenders are going to have you do, even though you have it listed for sale, they're going to have you do a BPO every 60 days on it. Now, it's much easier to do it on one. You do a BPO on a property when you get the assignment. 60 days later, you do another one. The second one's real easy to do, right? Because you already have all the information that you need. You just need to look up, see what else is sold in the neighborhood. So number one skill these REO asset managers are looking for is the ability to prepare a timely and accurate BPO. When you apply to become an REO listing agent, you can list your BPO experience. And when you catch your first big break, get your first REO client, get your first BPO order, which is also a listing assignment, you'll be able to complete a timely and accurate BPO, and this will open the flow of REO properties for you. So I have students all over the United States that do BPOs for revenue. And we have a real simple formula. You can make $1,200 a week. That's 4 BPOs a day, working 5 days a week. And it's not uncommon for agents to make much, much more. I have one coaching member who was running a sweatshop of people doing BPOs out of his office. And he was doing 60, I don't know how much profit there was, but he was doing $60,000 a month in BPO fees. It's crazy. A lot of my students have continued to do BPOs even after they get REO listings, just to fill in time slots between their regular real estate activities with an income producing activity. and you'll hone your skills, because if you're doing 4 BPOs a day or 4 BPOs a week, you're going to develop superior skills determining the value of real estate. And this will improve your listing presentations with private sellers, because you go meet with them and you're like, have you met with any other agents? Yeah, 2. Did either of those agents prepare a CMA for you? Yep. Did either of them leave you a copy of it? One of them did. The other one just showed us some comps they pulled off the MLS. Okay. Well, I take it a step further. I'm actually trained to do broker price opinions for companies like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Bank of America. When they foreclose on a property in this area, they actually pay me to go over and prepare a broker price opinion so they can determine how much to sell the property for. And you show them your broker price opinion, and it blows away a CMA. Totally blows away a CMA. Takes you more time. Your presentation is going to take more time. You could do that BPO. It's going to take you probably an hour of research before you go there, but it blows them away. Will increase your presentations and your closing percentages. You also learn about new properties that are going to be coming on the market. You know, you see a house pop up on the MLS. You're like, oh man, I did 3 BPOs on that property. I know an investor that love to have that. Call them right up. You know, you'll have a better feel for what's happening in certain neighborhoods because you're constantly researching them. This will help you with your private sellers and buyers. So once again, you got to know how to do a BPO. 2 types of BPO. There's a drive-by, just like it sounds. You roll up, roll down your window, snap a picture of the house, snap a picture of the address, you know, zoom in on it, take a picture looking down the street, across the street, back to the office you go, pull up the MLS, pull up the tax records, fill out a 2-page form. Experts are doing a couple of them an hour. Beginner, 1 to 2 hours. They typically get paid between $30 and $75. And then the full interior BPO, that means the property's empty. You're going to do the first 2 pages will be the drive-by information, and then you actually walk through the property. So there'll already be a lockbox on it. You'll access the interior of the property, take some pictures, give them an idea of what's wrong with the inside of it. That one pays more. Most people are getting $50 to $125. Beginners can take you a couple hours. Expert, they're cranking them out in an hour. There's also property condition reports. Some companies are doing these in between BPOs. If they're doing a BPO every 60 days, they're sending somebody over to do a property condition report. You just drive up, pull up the app on your phone, snap a couple pictures, answer 5 questions, off you go. They pay you $15. So seriously, you know, an agent looking to make $1,200 a week, they can do 2 interior BPOs a day, 2 exteriors a day, make $1,200 a week, work about 6 hours a day. All you need is a handful of BPO clients, like 3. Just got to complete those assignments on time. You got to do it accurately. And there's literally over 100 BPO companies that you could apply to work for. This is one of my coaching members. Created BPO revenues, $12,000 a month. Got 10 REO listings. All right. So here's some services you may be required to provide as an REO listing agent. This isn't comprehensive, and not everybody requires everything. If they don't know if someone's living in the property, it's just foreclosed on and got transferred to them, they may have you go over and see if anybody lives there. It's called an occupancy inspection. So they're like, hey, they send you a form. You drive over and see if anybody lives there. If someone lives there, they want you to find out, if you can, who it is and will they move if you give them some money. They call that cash for keys. It's really a check that the lender sends to you, made out to that person. You just hand it to them and get the keys. If the person says no, they get what's behind door number 2, an eviction, and their legal department will handle this. You'll just be CC'd on all the process, and then when the people are out of there, they'll have you contact the vendor. Sometimes it's done automatically, to change the locks, board up a broken window. You know, if you live in an area where it's cold and it's going to freeze, they might have you order winterization on your properties. If there's a lot of trash there, they may have you order a trash out. You're not paying for these things anymore. They may want repair bids to replace the roof, and they may not have a roofing contractor, so you may have to reach out and get a couple of repair bids. course, a BPO, they may need you to coordinate repairs, and by coordinated I mean, you know, they need the drywall replaced and they need it painted. Well, you'll have to monitor it. When the drywall's done, the drywall guy will call you, and then you'll call them and tell them and order the painter. Monthly status reports. Utilities, not so much anymore. Very few companies are requiring the agents to turn on utilities or even pay for utilities. And if they do, usually it's like the lights. And so you'll pay a light bill on a vacant house. And then you'll submit for reimbursement. So here's how you get started. You got to get some credentials together. So they're going to want to see, you're going to upload, when you apply, you're going to upload your real estate license. Your company will have a license, or your broker. The declarations page of your errors and omissions insurance, your broker will give you that. Then a list of zip codes where you're willing to work. This is where I'll list properties. You'll apply first with some BPO companies, at least 3 or 4. They approve everybody. They give everybody a chance. You do some BPOs. Now you can list them on your application when you apply with the REO sellers. Now, if you're serious about doing this, hopefully I've given you enough information. You can say, yeah, that's not something I'm interested in. Or you're like, yeah, I really think Frank's right, or Adam Data anyways. I really think there's going to be a lot of foreclosures next year, and it'd be great if I could pick up 2 or 3 listings a month. How can I do this? You know, I mean, certainly you could figure it out, but you're busy right now. Probably going to be, you know, too busy to go out on your own and do all this research. Well, there's an opportunity for you to have me take you by the hand and show you exactly what you need to do to get into this business in a very short period of time. Now, until recently, I haven't held any trainings. I did tons of trainings, hundreds and hundreds of trainings from 2007 to 2012. And then the opportunity got smaller and smaller and smaller because the number of foreclosures got smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, when there was 4 million foreclosures in a year, I trained as many people as I could possibly train. When there's 500,000, I didn't train as many people. I didn't want to bring people into something if I didn't think there was an opportunity for them to make a lot of money doing it. Recent events have prompted me to hold a couple live trainings to help agents prepare for what's going to happen. Now, I've updated my training, and I've got one training scheduled for 2021. It is a webinar training. It's 2 webinars. One on the 23rd, it's next Thursday, one on the 30th. I'm going to record it. So if you already have an appointment for one of those days, you can simply watch the recording after the event. But so yeah, two webinars. Each one's a little over an hour. Webinar number 1 is how to get started preparing BPOs and property condition reports. And webinar number 2 is how to prepare your REO resume. Now, most of these companies don't let you upload your resume, but you prepare an REO resume and then you use it when you're applying. And I'm going to show you exactly how you register with the banks, lenders, REO asset management companies, REO transaction management platforms, and give you a list of all of them with links to their websites. I'll also show you how to apply to Fannie Mae, to HUD. HUD's a real good opportunity, by the way. They pay 3%. You don't pay for anything out of your pocket. You don't do any BPOs. And they're in the process of changing out their contractors. And they have different contractors for each state. So it's real good timing for that. But I record the whole thing, and anybody that attends gets the slide deck, you know, so you can print it off. Actually, my resume template, my marketing plan template, my list of REO clients with links to most of their websites where you go and sign up. And so September 23rd and September 30th, 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 Mountain, 11 Central, 12 noon, lasts about an hour. You're going to get my resume template, service area template, marketing plan, access to my client list, and 30 days of free support. After the 30 days, there's a small fee, it's $39 for monthly support. But here's what we're going to go over. So in webinar number 1, I'm going to show you how to set yourself up for REO and BPO success. Show you how to do a BPO, give you a glossary so you know what all the terms are, and give you links to my favorite BPO companies so you can go there and apply, get a couple clients, so you'll be ready to either earn some extra income or just get a little bit of experience and have something to put on your application when you apply with the REO sellers. In week number 2, we're going to go over exactly what to say. Most agents get this completely wrong. Josh, what do you hear agents say when they like in their advertising? Got to sell homes in 30 days for 127% of list price. I'm the #1 seller in Maricopa County, right?
Or some award they won.
Yeah,
or,
right. I won the Silver Balloon Award 17 years in a row. Right. It's all about selling it fast, selling the most, dominating the market. Complete turnoff will get you instantly just deleted from their database. That it's they don't believe that they want you to affect how fast it sells or for how much money. It sounds totally wrong, but these are banks, lenders, government entities that you're dealing with. They would prefer that it takes 60 to 90 days to sell the house. Isn't that crazy? They don't want it. So they don't live in it because they can get sued by their investors. If their investors think they're just dumping properties on the market, they're selling. If the properties are selling in 2 days, they're like, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't exposed to the entire buyer pool in that area. You sold, if it sells that fast, it was too cheap, right? That's their logic. So they want it to take 60 to 90 days to sell the house. And they believe that during that 60 to 90 days, that they will get the highest offer. And it better be as high as their appraisal. If it sells for a whole bunch more than your BPO or a whole bunch less, they think you're not good at doing BPOs. So you don't want to use any of that stuff. They don't care about that. They don't care about your team of 37 people that work for you. That's actually and this is something we teach in the training. We don't say anything about that. If you're going to say you have, they'd like for you to have somebody that could help you if you were out sick. So it wouldn't hurt to say that you have an administrative assistant, even if that's virtual or if that's someone that your brokerage provides. Maybe you have an escrow coordinator. Like I still list and sell properties, but my primary focus these days is managing my investments and training other agents. So it doesn't make sense for me to have full-time employees for me anymore. So I use my company's administrative assistant. I just have to pay them for the work that they've done. And when I have a property in escrow, we have an escrow coordinator that I pay. She doesn't work for me full-time, but I do include on my application, I would include that I have an administrative assistant and I have an escrow coordinator. Little trick. And it's true. So we also go over which transaction management platforms you should join, if they have a fee, what it is, and give you the links to apply with all of those. You're going to apply with about 60 different companies. We talk about Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD because those have different qualifications. In fact, you have to be the broker owner to be Fannie Mae, but HUD is available to anyone. If you need help knowing how to compensate your team, structure a team if you have one, or you think you might need one if it starts getting busy. I have the breakdown of what works best, who to hire first, how much you pay them, how to get somebody on the outside that can help you on a contract basis, and I give you those links to register with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD for your area. Of course, include the templates for the resume, the marketing plan, seller list. Everything you need to get started, everything that I've learned in 21 years, you get to get all of that. And I left out all the fluff, so I'm just going to give you what you need. There's no reason for you to spend 7 days in a seminar to learn how to do this. I'm going to get you started doing it, and the rest of it you're going to learn on the job. So my goal was to remove price as a barrier. I don't want anybody to not be able to afford to do this. And you're not going to have to spend $2,500 for a week-long seminar or $997 for the weekend seminar. In fact, I don't even want to travel to do these things anymore because of what's going on right now. So we have rolled the price back to 2007. 14 years ago, when I started training agents how to do this, all I had was an ebook that was 14 pages long, and agents lined up to pay $197 to get that information. And I know you can barely fill your car with gas for $197 because I just came from Crested Butte, Colorado, and tried to fill my truck up with gas, and the thing shut off at $100. I'm like, what the? I got 3/4 of a tank. So $197. You couldn't take me out to dinner for $197. That's the entire training. It's a $997 value. You get 30 days of ongoing coaching and support through my private Facebook page. And after that, it's $39.97 a month. Should you decide to stay connected, and if you're serious about this business, you should stay connected because you're probably not going to get that first assignment. You're going to do all the work now over the next couple months, and then you're not going to get any work until probably January, and you'll start getting some BPOs, so you're probably going to need some help there. And then March, April, May, hopefully the foreclosures will start trickling through the system and become REOs, and those listing assignments will come through, and you're definitely going to need help then. So you'll want to stay connected. Plus, more than anything else, I can save you a lot of money from helping you avoid scams. Now that it's all over the news that there's going to be foreclosures again, all the same bad actors from last time have popped up, and they telemarket agents, and they offer to give you a REO listing assignment. And you're like, oh, that's awesome, that's great. And they get all your information, and they have you on the phone for like 10 minutes, and they need your credit card because they have a $400 technology fee. And they have taken thousands and thousands of agents for this. So anyway, our Facebook group has over 1,000 members, and at least once a week, somebody will post, hey, I got taken for $400. You know, if this company calls you, don't give them your money. It will save you some headache there. You got 3 choices, really. I mean, the first choice is to do nothing. That's what 90% of people will do. Second choice is try it on your own. I don't blame you. I once had a motorcycle. It wouldn't run. I thought I was a genius and could fix it. Took it all apart. Couldn't figure out how to get it back together. Then I had to take it to a shop, and they charged me more money. Now, I could have figured it out, but it would have cost me a lot of time, and time is money. Logical choice, participate in the training, get all the insider information. You could basically buy everything I've learned in 21 years for $197. If you do the math, you do like 2 or 3 BPOs, it pays for itself. If you get one listing and you're in San Diego and you make $18,000 when you sell it, feel free to send me a couple $100 extra if you'd like. So if you want to get on the list, now, unfortunately, I can only train so many people at once. So I'm going to limit this one to 47 participants. Go to REO Listings Now, www.reolistingsnow.com. And let me show you what you're going to see. So it's just a landing page. It's just a landing page that we've set up just for this training. I know it's on here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here we go. It's going to look like this. How to get REO Listings Bootcamp. Click the checkout button and enter your credit card information. If you know that you do not want to continue having access to me after 30 days, you can click that button now, or you can cancel at any time just by sending me an email. Everybody gets my personal email. And so here's what will happen after you go here and enter your information. You'll get a link. You'll automatically be redirected to a link, and you got to enter your name, last name, and email address, and then you'll attend the webinar. This will also send you a reminder 1 day before, 1 hour before, and then I'm personally going to email each and every person that registers from my desktop computer so I can make sure that it gets through, because sometimes these auto-generated things may end up in your spam folder. personally type your email address in, send you an email with the link to attend the 2 webinars and a link so you can download all of the resources that you're going to need. And for those of you that take action today, a special bonus for you. I'm going to go ahead and give you links so you can watch the training, and I've recorded a session I did previously. So it was a couple months ago, but the information's the same. And so if you don't want to wait until next week, or you already have something going on Thursday, you will get access today to a recorded version of the training, and you can just jump right in and watch that. You could be done tonight at midnight. And then if you have questions, you just log into our private Facebook group and post your question there. And I've got over 1,000 members in there. And some of those students have been with me since 2007. So, you know, if you ask a question at 6 a.m. Eastern time, I'm still sleeping. It's likely to be answered by someone else, one of my students that's been around, maybe sold more REOs than me. There's lots of, you'll get other input from other people that are doing this all around the United States. So REOlistingsnow.com. Oops. All right, Josh, I will.
Yeah, listen, we got some great questions. The link is in the chat as well. I will say this. It's obviously a link that redirects to the actual order form, because the order form is a safe, secure, encrypted, all of that good stuff. So just give it a minute. Like if it doesn't immediately load on your screen, just give it a second. But if you go to www.reolistingsnow.com, click enter, it will pop up. Like I said, if it's not like instant, just, you know, wait a couple of seconds. When I clicked it just to test it a minute ago, it popped up after a second or two. So just be patient there. Great questions, but I wanna confirm that, like, if you can't see the value in this, I don't know that there's anything I could possibly say to convince you. For $197 to get what you're getting, it's literally a business in a box, because that's what building out this pillar. And if it's not your entire business, you know, having another pillar of listings, I mean, 197 just for sort of the resources and the pre-recorded webinars, let alone not including the fact that you're also going to have live access if you're available and able to attend. Like, this is, to me, this is a complete and utter no-brainer, as long as, and I appreciate the fact that Frank took so much time and effort to illustrate, like, here are the pros and cons of this, right? Like, we're not just painting the one side of things, right? Like, there are good to bad, and you know, Frank, I'm sure you would agree. Like, every business and every opportunity like this, there are pros and cons, right? There's no perfect business model. There's no perfect source of business. You know, there's always a little yin and yang. There's always a little give and go. But if that resonates with you, then this to me is a complete no-brainer. All right, some great questions here. James, do you need a broker's license to sell REO properties?
No, it's just like, well, only for Fannie Mae direct. Fannie Mae, as their volume increases, they outsource to asset management companies, but they always have a number of direct brokers. And only way you can be a direct broker is if you're the broker owner. So therefore you're a broker. I had a student that was an agent, but owned the brokerage, couldn't become a Fannie Mae agent. So, but that's one customer out of the whole batch of REO sellers. That's the only one. Everyone else, you're applying on behalf of your brokerage. And so they need your company's license and they need your salesperson's license.
Gotcha. And then a follow-up was, do you have to have any kind of other special setup like LLC or
No.
you know, something specific like that? Perfect.
No, surprisingly enough, you know, all you have to have is errors and omissions insurance, and golly, if you don't have that, probably need a different
You got
broker.
other problems. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're exposing yourself to a huge personal risk. So
100%, 100%.
I've had students that didn't know they didn't have it. You know, they've been working there for 4 or 5 years, and fortunately nothing's ever gone wrong. And then they go through my training and go to their broker and ask for the errors and omissions insurance. And like, yeah, we don't have that. Wowzer.
Wow, that's yeah, seriously. Wow is an understatement. Congrats to Nick S. Nick, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name because I don't want to butcher it. David Glogger and Paula Lazo, I think. I tried Paula's. I should probably try Nicholas. Nicholas Skirba. It's probably not that. You know, I probably was making it harder than it needed to be. Do we need to do BPOs now, or are the ones I did in 2008 to 2012 work? And I think what Mike is asking, like, as a, you know, for your resume and like for your credibility.
Yeah, so Mike, they haven't really changed. They're just online now. Everybody's are online, no more paper. But you probably want to apply with a handful of the evaluation only companies like Clear Capital, and just so you can say, I'm currently doing broker price. Maybe you just do one, right? I mean, otherwise it just, you know, you don't want to get caught. You don't want your application just to get
Pie on
deleted
your
because
face. Yeah, you don't want, yeah, because any
it's
little.
just a small barrier of entry, right? They don't want.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to deal with somebody that doesn't know what a BPO is.
Yeah.
And you know, literally, there are people that apply somehow on some Facebook group. They found a link to a company that lists and sells REOs, so they go apply. They've never seen a BPO. They don't know what one is. And so the asset managers don't want to mess with them because they don't want to teach you how to do BPOs. That's a given.
Yeah. Ronald asked, do you need to be a broker to do a BPO in PA? Is a CMA a BPO, and can realtors do BPOs?
So in all but 2 states, an agent or salesperson, I should say, can do a broker price opinion on behalf of their broker. There are 2 states that, or 1 state that doesn't let you do it at all, and the companies know that, so they don't order it. And there's another state that you can't do it for compensation. So the way they get around that is they just have you do a property condition report and hire an appraisal. So don't let that stop, because that's not the end goal is not to do the BPOs. The end goal is to get the REO listings, and agents can list REOs in all 50 states as long as they have an active license, they're working under a broker, and they have errors and omissions insurance.
So Ron, in PA, you would just, you know, your broker would just have to be on board with it. And if you want to chat about that,
we go over this in week 1, and I'll give you a link where you can go and check the requirements for your particular state. Like Texas requires that you have, if you fill out a BPO, doesn't matter if you're a broker or an agent, you have to include certain verbiage in the comment section of the BPO, and it says, this BPO is a broker price opinion. This is not an appraisal, and I'm not a licensed appraiser, basically. That's what, silly, but they require that. So I've got a resource that I give all my students so they can click on it, go there, personally verify what the rules and regulations are. Some states will let the agent get paid directly. Some states, if they're going to pay you, you know, for a BPO, it has to get paid to your broker.
Perfect. And like I said, Ron, I'm happy to chat with you more because I'm in PA as well, if you have questions. And Ron, you and I, we've talked before anyway. Aziz, are you going to send, or are we going to get the PDF form of this presentation? So we did our best to record. I did my best to record. I think it was successful. As long as it was, I'm going to send out the replay to everyone that was here. Okay, so we'll try and get you that information. What commission are the banks paying listing agents? Back in the day, it was common to only pay 1%. I don't know that that's.
Let's see. Did I get 1% from someone? I got 1% when Fannie Mae decided at one point in time to take all their aged properties. These properties had been on the market for I don't know how many days it was. It was like 6 months. and send them off to an auction company. And even though I had an active listing on it, they took it from me, sent it to an auction company. I got paid 1%. That's the only time I recall being paid 1%. Lots of times I got paid 2.5%. Lots of times I got paid 3% and paid a 25% referral fee. You know, it's all over the board, but I don't know of anybody. And HUD pays 3%. You get the whole 3%. So I don't know of anybody. I don't know of a single company paying 1%. Honestly, I don't work with any of them. I don't think any of them on my list. That's not to say that next year somebody decides to lower it to 1%, but that's not the norm. The norm is, I would have to say the average is 2.5.
Here's something that I just, as we were talking through this, that popped into my head, and I'll offer as a bonus. If you start taking REO listings, you absolutely should be turning that into more business.
Yeah.
And the way that, the way to do that is to leverage them, right? To create more opportunities. And I've got basically it's our internal listing syndication process. So basically every new listing that I take, we have a detailed process of all of the marketing that we do online, offline, exactly step by step. And Mike on my team is the one who executes on most of that. What I am happy to do is for anyone that gets enrolled at reolistingsnow.com, shoot me an email. And in fact, here's how we'll be able to do this. Frank will let me know, and this won't happen immediately, but Frank will let me know everyone who enrolled from our time here, and I will send that document as a bonus, which will you can use, you can execute on any listings that you may get, regardless of if they're REO or not. But you certainly should do that with every REO listing, because again, it's not just about getting those listings. The way I look at every listing is how many additional transactions can I get from that listing?
Absolutely.
And so I'm happy to throw that out to anyone as well. Natasha asks, are there any certifications worth getting?
There I'm going to say yes and no. Last time around, when I say last time around, I'm referring to the period of 2006 to like 2012. So many agents tried to get in that some companies started requiring you to go take a class. That's how the certifications got started, right? So they just couldn't deal with all the applications, and they couldn't deal with all the agents that screwed everything up when they gave them their first assignment. They didn't have time for trial and error to figure out who's good and who's not. So the way they could do that is they're like, oh, you want to be a listing agent for us? Well, go get this certification over at this company over here. And so it didn't exist in 2000. It got introduced in the market about 2006. And by 2010, they were using it as a screening tool. There was no way you were getting in with some of the big companies unless you completed a course and got their certification. I think there's only 2 left. All of them just went out of business, right? Because they weren't needing to recruit thousands of REO agents 3 years ago. The market was so hot, there was a set number every year. They had enough agents, and they had time. Right now, there's a BPO certification. That's good training, but you don't need it. And there's a couple certifications offered from the transaction management platforms. Good training, not necessary. I don't have a single certification, not one. Never did. A lot of my students did it because they wanted to ramp up their business faster. There are none that I'm recommending at this time.
There you have it. Great answer. I would say oftentimes those certifications are more about us than them.
Yeah,
they're more about,
right.
yeah, totally. Jonathan Mester, congrats and welcome. Cheryl Summerlin, congrats and welcome. Mike Stearns, congrats and welcome. Melanie Rios, Carlos Diaz, Harvey Height. What's up, Harvey? How are you? Ramona Rember, Sarah Burton. I just want to give props to those that are taking action. Travis Lee, Hazel Carlson, and Ron Graham. So welcome to all of you. Let me see if we have, or I think we had, we're pretty good. Let me just double check here.
One thing I want to mention, something that I'm an introvert, and I've struggled with it in my it's probably the reason I chose REO and probate. Those are my two niche markets where I get 90% of my business, is because I'm shy. And so I'm terrified of door knocking, terrified of cold calling. Yeah, I mean, I'm not coaching the soccer team. I wouldn't go to a church if there was more than 50 people in there. And so I'm not the guy that wears his what do you call it, name badge that says Frank Patrick Keller Williams asked me about buying a house, and I don't introduce myself to people at the grocery store and Walmart, and none of my neighbors even know what I do for a living. Still managed to get lots and lots of business, and business that I was comfortable with. Now I tried to door knock. I tried to make cold calls, but it's not who I am. And so I kind of think of REO and my other niche market and probate. It's the great equalizer, right? I'm not 6 foot tall and handsome. I don't have a fancy car. I don't belong to a country club. My mom lives on a farm and only has one neighbor within 5 miles of her. I have no connections, never have, and still able to have a very successful career because I chose niche markets where 99% of the time I never meet any of the people that list properties with me in person.
So I love that you pointed that out for a couple of reasons. The biggest one being, whether it's REO or not, but being okay with or taking the time to be real with yourself about, based upon my strengths, my personality, and so forth, what are the sources of business? What are the types of marketing channels and campaigns that match up with that? I mean, I think especially in our industry, it's very easy to get envious or jealous of this guy or that gal or this type of business, whatever. But that's you understanding who you are and then finding those sources and pillars that fit your introverted personality. I think there's a bigger lesson in that for all of us, for sure. But certainly, yeah, if you're if that was resonating with you, the kind of things that Frank was describing, which I too loathe, door knocking and cold calling and some of the other activities that Frank described that can work, right?
Yeah, I don't mean to diminish any of those methods. Yeah,
right.
I don't mean to discredit any of those methods. Obviously they work because people make a lot of money doing them.
But the reality is, if you're dreading your life and your business because of that, then what's the point of that, right? Ideally you should design a business around that is pleasurable and exciting and that serves you as much as you serve clients. And so, yeah, anyway, this obviously is resonating with a great number of people because we have more and more slots and spots that are being taken. And I think we've pretty well addressed all of the questions. So let's kind of summarize and come in for a landing here. This is what's on the screen here is the offer that's being made. Please understand that give Frank some grace. because he manually will get all of this to you. Like he doesn't, he doesn't have this sophisticated automation, right? He's going to get
No.
everything as promised to you. He's going to send you information to register for the live classes. You'll also get recordings to those live sessions on the 23rd and the 30th if you can't make them live, and you have lifetime access to like the completion guide and all of these things. And then if you want to continue to have Frank's ongoing help and support, it's a nominal fee and you can cancel anytime. So go to reolistingsnow.com, reolistingsnow.com, grab your spot. My guess is we're at least halfway full on the number of spots that Frank had earmarked, so that he can provide the level of support and help and access to help you all be extremely successful. Frank, thanks again, as always, so much for spending a great deal of time with my audience here today, and for putting this this package together. I can't wait to hear from the
Awesome.
the action takers on their results and how things are going with that. So go to reolistingsnow.com, grab your spot. If you have any questions after the fact, you're watching this on replay, whatever, reach out to me and I will make sure that we get you an answer, whether or not I have it. If I need to, wrap Frank in to answer the question, we're happy to do that as well. So Frank, again, thanks so much, as always.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Josh. I appreciate it.
Spend some time with you. Right on. All right, take care, everybody. Grab your spot and talk soon.